This is a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk. You're listening to the tale of three podcasters walking across Scotland during the 30th anniversary of the RAB TGO Challenge. Part 11.
This podcast is just one from a special series produced from a wealth of recordings made in May 2009 during the 30th anniversary of the RAB TGO Challenge. Recording the event were Andy Howell, Shirley Worrell and me, Bob Cartwright. We were just three of the 360 or so challengers who were walking the unsupported 200 miles from the west to the east coast of Scotland. This was the 30th year of the event, sponsored by RAB and, of course, TGO magazine, who have been behind the challenge ever since its inception in 1980. The framework and principle is totally unique. It isn't a race or competition of any kind. The objective is to foster good fellowship amongst walkers within the framework of a challenging 200-mile expedition. This is a backpacking trip, and everyone carries what they need for the duration, picking up the occasional food parcel along the way. The start consists of a series of sign-out locations on the west coast, anywhere from Torridon in the north down to Ardrishaig in the south. Each challenger, solo, couple or group makes their way via a high route, a low route or the mixture of the two across Scotland to finish anywhere between Arbroath and Fraserburgh on the east coast. There's a set 2-week window to do this in, and each participant submits their route for inspection prior to departure for safety and advice reasons. The places are normally limited to 300. However, on this 30th anniversary, this was increased to 360. Details about the future events, entry forms, past stories and photographs can be found in the October issue of TGO magazine. Plus, in recent years, there's an ever-growing online library of podcasts, diaries and blogs from numerous challengers dotted around the web. Each participant makes the challenge as easy or as hard as they wish. The extremes can be a remote high route, carrying everything you need, navigating your way across wild country, taking in the magic vista which only Scotland can offer, and not seeing another soul for days on end. Or a route taking in the many social meeting places, not camping at all, and using established warm, dry accommodation all the way. Most people do a mixture of the two in different forms, depending on the ever-changing conditions an event like this can throw at you. On this 30th anniversary, three of us took audio recorders with us to share our experiences, and those of others we met along the way. Rose and I started from Ogden, Andy Howell and his partner Kate from Torridon, and for the first time this year, Shirley Worrell was to give us a solo female perspective, also starting from Torridon. We were all aiming for different finish points on the east coast via completely different routes. And so this is our story.
It's about 10:30 and I've just had a wonderful breakfast of egg and chips at the Retreat Cafe, not far from Tarfside, and I'm wandering along the road as part of a procession with various other people heading for Edzell and I think it's Northwater Bridge. And I'm lucky enough to be walking along with John Hesp today, who I met in email quite some time ago and walked with in the lakes earlier in the year. Well, in fact, it was last year. Hello, John.
Hello, Shirley.
And this is your first challenge, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So can you tell us what you thought of it so far?
Good, very, very good.
And where did you start?
I started in Glen Uig with the Encultural.
Okay. Well, there's supposed to be three of you, I think.
There was supposed to be three. The other guy didn't turn up till we'd left.
Okay.
And my plan was, because of the bad weather, to walk around by the road.
Right.
To Glenfinnan, but Ian persuaded me to join him up on the mountains, which was very exciting.
And that was in the really foul weather.
That's right, yeah.
And so how was it when you went over the mountains in the end?
Exciting. I think if I'd been on my own, which I wouldn't have done, but if I'd been on my own I'd have been scared, but someone as experienced as Ian, it was just exciting.
And did you come across snow?
We came across snow, we didn't know which way we were going. The ridge was very tortuous, up and down, right and left, and after a few miles it's just great to come down out of the cloud and see the world again. You know, all we'd seen for hours was grey cloud.
And did you wild camp that night?
We did, quite high up on the ridge. And
was that cold?
it was freezing and wet.
What kind of bag have you brought?
Marmot helium.
Right.
But the next morning we got up and conditions seemed worse, and the ridge ahead was once again pretty difficult to follow.
Right.
So we copped out and walked down into Glenfinnan.
That sounds like a good idea.
But I came away with the idea that I'd done that first day and it was really hard.
Right.
I'd probably managed the rest of the trip.
Okay.
And here I am, nearly there.
And so where did you go after that then?
Glenfinnan, up Callop Glen into Cona Glen,
Right.
down to Corran Ferry,
Right.
then over a Corbett into Kinlochleven, up to the Blackwater Dam and Corora Station,
Uh-huh.
over another Corbett on the way, then down to Rannoch Station, and then down past Loch Rannoch to Tummel Bridge, over to Blair Athol, Spittle of Glen Shee, over a couple of Munros.
Wow.
That was a nice day again. And then Glenclover,
Right.
over to here at Tarfside.
And have you been wild camping all the way?
I have, because I was looking forward to that, but after that first night with Ian up on the ridge,
Yeah.
I really realised that that's really what it was all about for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes there have been accommodation nearby and it's been raining,
Right.
but always the draw of getting out in the wild and even just sitting in the door of the tent watching the rain is
Right.
just so strong.
That's
what I've
fantastic.
done, yeah.
See, I've been a bit lazy this time, and I've done more. Well, I did B&B for 2 nights in Braemar, and then I did a hotel at Dinnet. But as I was just telling you, I seem to have eaten a lot of chips and eggs and chips and things like that.
I really envy you.
No? So what have you been eating then? What
Well,
did you bring?
my mainstay has been dehydrated meals.
Okay, and what did you...
Which,
Are they dehydrated meals that you made yourself?
that's right, yeah.
Okay, so tell us what you made.
Well, mostly what I really like at any time is risotto,
Mm-hmm.
and that dehydrated really well and
What
rehydrated really well.
What flavour of risotto did you
Usually squash,
make? Right,
all organic,
yeah.
and there's also some dehydrated stuff from the garden, like rhubarb, and
Fantastic.
which somehow it's really nice when you're sitting up a mountain to think, oh, I grew this myself. And,
Did you make the rhubarb into a leather?
well, I just dehydrated it and then rehydrated it and had it with custard.
Right, because I know that in the past Bob and Rose have made rhubarb, but they had it in a leather, and so
Oh,
they
right,
could put it into custard and it'd become all soft and lovely again. Or you could actually chew it as there was a sort of piece of biltong,
Yeah.
rhubarb biltong or something like that.
No, I hadn't thought of doing that.
No. And so, well, we're both heading off now towards Edzell. Are you going to Northwater Bridge tonight, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent.
It's all a bit of a shock, this crowds of people after not seeing many people for days.
Yep.
And I think the campsite at Northwater Bridge is beside the main road, isn't it?
Well, I'm
might
not
be,
sure, but I'm told it's very nice.
Yeah, oh good.
It's a nice place. And it's nice to see some sun this morning, isn't it? Just at the moment it's sunny and warm.
Yeah.
I suppose that almost inevitably it's going to be cold and rainy soon.
I haven't minded the weather. It's, we've had enough good days to make it good.
So are you thinking you might do the challenge again next year?
If they'll have me, yeah, I think I might. But I would definitely choose a wilder route.
Okay.
I found that coming over from Tummel Bridge to Blair Athol and from there on for a day was fine scenery, but the sort of scenery similar to the scenery I could find in the south of England,
Right.
and I need to find it a bit wilder up here, I think.
Okay, so have you any provisional ideas at this stage about where you might like to go next time?
Following your route, I think, through the Cairngorms.
Through the
Looks good.
Cairngorms, yeah. Well, of course,
That's the big draw.
I didn't quite manage to follow my proposed route this year, but hopefully I will do next time.
And try and keep actually to wilder land right to the end, which might mean going through the Fetteresso.
Yes. It seems to be that, well, as far as I can see, it seems that the Fetteresso is the only way to stay in wildland all the way to the end. Right. So, okay, so possibly next year then.
Oh yeah, otherwise if I didn't get on, or if I thought about it and didn't want to do it, I think I might do a West Coast trip.
Right.
Because it really is the West Coast that draws me up here.
Okay.
That rugged wildness is what I really like. And on this route I'd purposely planned 5 days just to get to Corran Ferry.
Right.
Just to try and spend as much time in the west and then make a mad dash in the east.
Uh-huh.
Didn't quite work out like that
No.
because of the bad weather, but it's always the west, I think, that draws me.
So when are you going home? Are you going home on Friday or on Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay. And where's home?
Somerset.
And how long will it take you to get back there?
About 11 hours, I think.
Wow, that is a long journey.
It took 2 days to get up here.
Wow. 2 days, my goodness.
I could have done it in 1 day and arrive at Loch Isle at 11 o'clock at night, but
Right.
that didn't appeal in the rain.
Nope.
And having a convenient place to stop at my cousin's at
Right.
Wigan, I made 2 days of it.
Well, I suppose that we'll continue to press on. The procession seems to be spreading out a little bit now, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we've passed a few people. We've got Ali and David Albon and Sue behind us. And I think I see there's Bob and Rose and Lee up ahead of us, and no doubt countless other people on the path.
Well, it's Wednesday morning. We can't quite work out whether it's the 19th or the 20th, but I think one of the two dates will work for us. And we've finally left Tarfside after a very pleasurable evening in the lodge there with a few beers, and then we walked down to the retreat this morning, where we struggled our way through a most excellent full breakfast, the first one of my trip, I hasten to add. And we're now walking in relatively good weather, sunshine, blue skies, fair amount of cloud, but no rain as yet, down the well-trodden route toward Edzell. Rose and I are obviously plodding away here, and we're joined finally by Lee and Tony. We've been talking about them obviously over the last few days, waiting for them to catch up, and apparently they've been delayed in various assorted drinking houses and accommodation and luxury overnight stops. But the Bothy boys have arrived, and they're full of tales of rescue and directions and map reading and misdirection and so on, that makes the challenge the type of things that it really can be, and the memories that it can be. So I'm going to stand between them now, and we'll hear some of their stories of some of the people they've met on the way and adventures they've had. Morning to you, Lee.
Morning, Bob.
So basics first, good trip?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, interesting. Quite a hard start, but interesting.
Wonderful
good weather. Wonderful start, yes. Through, up to Bothy and the
Recommend it to anybody.
terrible track through the woods and up and over trees and through water. But yeah, quite an interesting start.
Excellent. And Tony, you want to just come down this way a bit?
Yeah.
So yourself, you happy with the route this year?
Yes, excellent. I'd recommend it to anybody. It's pleasant, not too difficult at Bothy. So anybody who wants an easy trip, I'd recommend them to go to Bothy through the woods.
Did you actually stay in any bothers at all, you two?
No. We've just got that name, Bothy boys, but we keep out of them.
And what do you reckon, how many of the public accommodation and hostelries do you reckon you visited on the way?
Pubs, one every 3 days, I would have thought.
Yeah?
Yes.
Spread the wealth round locally?
Yes, and no, mainly because I'm very dehydrated, so you have to get some liquid.
So of the accommodations then, Lee?
Yes.
What do you reckon has been good value for money and you'd visit again, as it were, and which ones have been a little bit on the steep side?
We stayed at Inverary Youth Hostel. That was very small, very cheap but very small. And the only other place we stayed was Clover Inn, or Clover Hotel, which was very big and very expensive.
And you actually hotelled it as opposed to the Bothy?
Hotel, yeah, just for the bath. But that was worth £60, to be honest.
Oh, £60 a head.
Yes, definitely worth it.
There's a belter of a fire in that bar though, isn't there?
Fantastic, yeah, and beer's good as well.
And what about yourself, Tony? Anything you'd add to that?
Not really. It's more or less the same. As I say, the youth hostel was like a prison cell. They wouldn't even put prisoners in them rooms, to be honest with you. Two to a cell. I think health and safety and all that should be brought in on that.
And now I'd like to just touch on a little subject that's close to our hearts. I understand that you've obviously met on your travels the infamous Mr. Andy Howell from Walk This Way blog. I wonder if you've got any thoughts on his views and lightweight views towards backpacking.
He's out of date, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he's got this blog and other people do it a lot better, to be honest with you. You know, and he thinks he's the main man. Well, he isn't. You see, you should listen to Bob Cartwright's blog. That's the main man. That's my opinion, obviously, you know.
Oh, I appreciate that. What are your thoughts, Lee?
Yeah, same again. Yeah, it's heavy pack he's carrying, and I think Kate was carrying most of it as well.
Yeah.
And I did expect him to be in a tarp because, you know, he's always going on about his tarps, but obviously he's not man enough.
Fair weather tarp man, that's what he is. A fair weather tarp man. So he'll just have to think up some new ideas, won't he, Bob? You know. I mean,
So he's definitely behind the times, you reckon, then?
Yeah, definitely. He's out of date.
I understand he's very popular, though.
Well, not with the younger generation.
People like yourself.
Yeah. People like myself, you know, the younger generation. We want a bit more sparkle in it, you know.
A few more photographs, a bit more information.
Yeah, that's it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he lives around the Midlands, I think, doesn't he? You know,
Yes.
they're dull, boring people, really, aren't they? You know, they haven't really got much life in the Midlands, so
I doubt he gets out very much, actually.
I doubt it. No hills or anything like that, is there? You know,
No.
so he doesn't really know much about the hills, does he? You know.
There's Merry Hill Shopping Centre.
Yeah, well,
Got a few steps there, I think.
that's right. Yeah. You know, the only thing he's good at talking about is Aston Villa. You know, and that's it.
Yeah.
He should actually start the blog about Aston Villa, you know, to be honest with you. It's more his line,
Yeah.
I think, you know.
Safe and retiring.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I think we better leave this subject now before we're prosecuted.
I think it's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
After last year's interview.
Yeah.
Any stories, any adventures at all on the trip, Lee? Anything that you'd advise people to do or not to do as regards routes and that sort of stuff?
Well, I advise people not to even do the challenge in the beginning. But yeah, we had an interesting crossing from Clover to Tarfside. In the mist and sort of visibility was down to about 10 yards at the most.
Is that when we could hear Bob shouted?
Yeah.
Screaming,
help me.
Yeah. But, we managed to get across okay with, you know, compass bearings and that sort of thing. But unlike Bob himself, who I think got lost up there. But
We're only thinking up.
Yeah, thanks for that laughter, Rose.
Yeah, I heard he was going to try to phone Andy Howell to tell him the way, but he couldn't get a signal.
Yeah. No, it's a tricky place to come over with visibility like that, isn't it?
Oh, very much so.
And Jocks Road itself, that climb at the end, still just as steep as it used to be?
Yes, just as steep. Luckily we crossed Jocks Road in the morning and got into Clover before the real terrible weather came, because it was absolutely pouring down all afternoon, so I was quite pleased about that.
Well, I must say, have you noticed all these people that do lightweight stuff and all that? They always bring their wives. And they carry the stuff, you know. Yeah, this is what they should really mean, you know, go light with your wife. You know, she carries everything. That's it, you won't have sore feet or anything.
Well, that's certainly true for me this year. I seem to have done quite well, and Rose has always been complimented on the size of her pack. I think that's what people are talking about.
I think, well, I noticed you're a 25 litre sack, Bob, and Rose is 75, so that says it all, doesn't it?
Yes, well...
Not only that, she doesn't complain. Carrying all that gear, she doesn't complain once.
Well, as you can see, that the conversation's like on the last couple of days of the challenge. The spirits are lifted with the weather, along with the verbal abuse and humour, which is always a good thing. So we're going to plod on now to Edzell and no doubt try and cram ourselves into a cafe where there's probably about 60 or 70 other challengers equally waiting for their teas, coffees and sausage and chip sandwiches.
Yeah. Chips. Close to your heart, Bob, as well, chips.
Here at North Waterbridge are Mick and Gayle, who became quite well known a year or so back when they blogged as they walked from Land's End to John O'Groats. Not quite as long this time, but have you enjoyed this challenge?
It's been fantastic, actually. The weather's been changeable, to say the least. We've seen snow, hail, sleet, rain, and 4 days of actually gin clear skies, which have been absolutely brilliant. And for those 4 days, we tended to be high up as well, so we were sitting on top of Munros, and you could see forever. It was stunning. The last 5 days have been back to the wet and the rain, and it's not been too good. But no, overall, it's been fantastic, good experience.
If we forget the last 4 or 5 days, what are the highlights, Gayle?
I think the high routes we did. I really wish now that I'd put a few more Munros in, a fair weather alternative. But yes, standing on top of those hills with just the views forever. And I think if it had been raining, I really would have struggled up those hills with my pack. But with the skies as they were, skipped up them as if I was Julia Bradbury.
but without the support crew.
Indeed, yes.
Actually, that might be libellous, but I'm sure there is one there somewhere. Now, 2 weeks is kind of nothing for you two, is it? Because you like long walks, and you're planning another long walk for next year.
About to plan. We have the outline. When we got back from Land's End, John O'Groats, we looked at the weather map, and Mick looked at the bottom left and top right corner and thought, that's a long way that we've just walked. And I looked at the bottom right, top left and thought, that looks like a good walk. So next year is the opposite two corners, Kent to Cape Wrath.
That's starting at Dover or something and moving all the way through.
I had a quick look at the map, and I can't quite decide where the bottom right-hand corner is, but it's going to be somewhere to the right of Dover and Folkestone. And we're going to go up and hopefully take in a high route, weather permitting, through Scotland, and end up at Cape Wrath.
And how long will that take?
We may not do it all in one leg, so we might break it, but it's probably going to be, once again, 3 or 4 months. So it's going to be similar to the last one. Last one was 12 weeks.
So this long distance walking is beginning to be a bit of a lifestyle now, isn't it?
It's such a good thing to do. Looking back now at the photos from last year and reading the diary I wrote at the time, it was such a good experience. It was such fun that why wouldn't we go and do it again?
You just have to work a little bit and get a bit of money to go. Mick, you were telling me this afternoon you came up with an idea for a cracking walk, I thought.
Oh, to go from Canterbury to Lourdes, all the way down, and then across the Pyrenees and all the way down through Spain as well, the Pilgrims Trails, and that sounds. I fancy that, but the logistics is a little bit different from the logistics of doing something in the UK. You know, we can speak the language. We've got friends and relations who can post parcels up to us and food and things like this. Or if something goes wrong, we can pick up the phone and phone Bob and say, quick, send us one of these. It's a bit difficult when you're in the middle of France or somewhere and you're not quite sure how we're going to support it.
I wonder, there's a lot of podcast listeners I know in France and Spain, so if people are listening to that, if they get in touch with us, they might want to form part of a future Mick and Gayle support crew. That would be good, wouldn't it?
that would be good indeed, yes. Because it is really the logistics that is making me nervous of going and doing something very long in Europe. Hopefully next year we'll get over to probably the Pyrenees for a month. But yes, something longer than that. It makes me nervous to think of how we're going to plan it.
So is this the game plan now, really, to do big walks most of the time?
Yeah, we have to work for a few months every now and again to get some money in, and then go off and do a long walk. We've decided that life is just too short to wait until I'm retiring and then go walking, because I don't think Gayle will be up to it by then.
No, I take it you'd be blogging from Kent to Cape Wrath next year.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
It's great entertainment and it's free. Every morning you have your morning cup of coffee and see where you've been the day before. But I mean, the kind of kit you're taking on the TGO, is that similar to the Land's End John O'Groats kit? Because everybody's fascinated in what kind of kit people take on these long walks.
It's almost identical to what we carried last year. I think because I was rather more disorganised for this trip, I've probably thrown a few extra things in that are nice to have, but I didn't really need. And when we get back, I'll probably be very sad and analyse it all and write a little post about it. But no, we've pretty much got the exact kit we had last year, and there's a few things that are on the edge of being worn out now. But I think there's a few items like the our thermarest that I'd like to go lighter on next year. Obviously, the Neo Air's out now. But other than that, I think we're going to be pretty much the same kit again next year.
Now, most of your kit has done more than a few hundred miles now. So, what stands out as being really fantastic buy?
Ooh, that's a hard one. The sleeping bag, definitely the sleeping bag. I think it's my favourite. You end up at the end of the day, it's the nicest thing. Is just getting inside the tent and just slipping into your sleeping bag, and it's always right with the world again. So
and which sleeping bag do you endorse?
For me, I absolutely love my PhD Minim 300.
Oh, great bags, PhD.
Oh, indeed, and the short length fits me absolutely perfectly. I'm not carrying around any excess sleeping bag, and it suits me fine. You don't need that zip. In fact, on this trip I'm using a RAB one, and I keep forgetting I've got a zip and just climbing in through the top.
I've got a RAB Quantum 250, isn't it? Yeah. So I've got one of those, and it's a nice weight. I sleep fairly warm anyway, so I don't need anything too heavy. Gayle needs something a little bit more bulky than me. She's got less insulation.
And Gayle, favourite piece of kit?
So many, I think, and some of the really simple things like the pot cosy. Has just transformed how we...
It has, hasn't it? Because none of us had heard of them 3 or 4 years ago, and they really do make cooking a lot more economical as well.
Oh, absolutely, we save on gas, and the problem that we found last year with the walk, and we're going to find again, is Kent to Cape Wrath, there's not going to be that many places where we're passing shops that sell gas, and when there's 2 of us, we're getting through a 250 cylinder every 5 to 10 days, depending. So if we can save on the fuel, then that's an absolute bonus. So the pot cosy and the bush buddy, two-pronged attack to make sure that the gas is padded out.
Yeah, the bush buddy's a wonderful stove, but you were saying to me last night that you used it a lot in England and Wales, but it was a bit more difficult in Scotland.
It was more difficult in Scotland because we had 3.5 weeks of rain last year, and everything was wet in Scotland, and if it's raining I don't really want to be searching for damp wood and sitting out in the rain cooking. So it was just easier and more comfortable to use the gas. We did use it a little bit, but probably not enough to warrant carrying it through Scotland. But that said, I'll probably carry it again because it is good when you can use it.
Yeah. You can't cook inside the tent with it either. It's one of the bigger problems.
No, we took 2 stoves because there were 2 of us to the Pyrenees last summer, didn't we? And it was great in the warm weather having that. Now the TGO Challenge is a great place to watch bits of new kit. It's actually a great place to watch bits of very old heavy kit as well. But is there anything that's caught your eye, or is there any bit of kit that you're thinking, we'll have a look at that for next year?
I think I'm fundamentally happy with all the kit I've got. I've worked through the years through various pieces of kit until I've got to the point that I've researched everything and I'm happy with it, and it's now tried and tested. But I don't know if we've just got a bit of a tent fetish, but I keep looking at other tents and thinking, is that better? Would that be more suitable than what we've got? So the Nallo I've got my eye on at the moment. But,
she only announced this tonight.
Yeah, we had a Nallo for years. It's a great tent, not quite so good as in stormy winds though.
And that's my concern because the Voyager is reasonably stable, doesn't flap a lot, and I don't like a flapping tent. It's why we like Wendy Warmlight, but she's not so good in other respects with the condensation.
There will be some people that don't know what Wendy Warmlight is, so you better explain.
We name all our tents, so instead of saying let's go and get the Stevenson's Warmlight tent out, she's known as Wendy. So each tent's got a name. So we're with Susie Superlight at the moment. So and then we're Vera Voyager. So So we've named all the tents. So the Wendy's a Stevenson's warm light. It's a single skin tent. And it's got a double skin sort of inner between the poles. It's a tunnel tent, but they're very, very stable.
They're an odd company, aren't they, Stevenson? An American company. And when you actually find them on their website, there's kind of more to do with naturists than tents, I seem to remember.
Yes. You've got to be a bit careful at work. I told one of the guys at work, we've got one of these tents. So he Googles it, goes to their website, and he's suddenly looking behind him just in case the IT police are there, because they've, they're a naturist group as well, and there's all sorts of things on show, not just tents.
Alan Sloman used one, didn't he, on his Land's End John O'Groats, but do you find condensation's a problem in a single skin tent in Britain?
It's two skin through the middle of the tent. The problem is it can't cope with two people in there on a cold night, and particularly if it's wet and you have to cook in there. Even if you don't cook in there, two people breathing it can't cope with. Absolutely fantastic tent for one person. I've used it solo, and it would be my tent of choice over all of the tents we're seeing out in the campsite tonight. I would always go for Wendy Warm Light, but for two, it's not as good because of the condensation. You
switched tents, didn't you, during the Land's End John O'Groats crossing? And presumably that's something you look to do next year?
Yeah, we used the Voyager initially, and then we changed over to the Warm Light for 2 or 3 weeks, something like that, and then we went back to the Voyager for the last few weeks. And the Warm Light was perfectly okay. It's okay when it's reasonably dry, but as soon as you get if there's no wind or there's any form of sort of dampness, it gets very, very wet inside with two people.
Okay, so it's back to planning now. How long does it take to plan one of these long walks?
Well, the last one, because I like to know everything. I like to have everything planned and know where we're going and what we're doing. The last one I took a year planning. Now, I'm hoping that we're going to set off somewhere between mid-March and mid-April next year, and I haven't started planning it yet. I've already got compressed timescales on that, but I'm probably not going to plan it to quite the same degree. Probably going to be more flexible on our endpoints for the day so that we can walk further. The one mistake I made last year was having some days that were too short. So I will do a lot of research into where campsites are and when we're likely to be able to camp. But less planning. We will dehydrate meals again, so that's going to be from January next year. We'll have a production line going, 100 meals to be cooked and dehydrated. And there will be the logistics of resupply.
God, it's bad enough dehydrating just for 2 weeks, let alone 100 meals.
We have two dehydrators now. We're a 2 dehydrator family. So we have both of those on the go. So it's the whole house smells of curry and chickpea stew.
I guess it is the case, isn't it, that the blog's just as entertaining when you're reading it in the planning phase as it is in the walking phase. So if people want to catch up on the blog, what do they put into Google to find you?
Mick and Gayle usually works. If you Google Mick and Gayle, it usually comes up as one of the top matches. The blog is gailybird.blogspot.com.
Well, it was a great entertainment last time, following you as you traipsed up the country, and I'm sure it's going to be next time as well. So good luck, and enjoy the rest of the challenge. There's still one more hill to climb.
Yes, thanks very much indeed.
Cheers.
It's about 10 to 11 now, and still wandering along the long road that leads from Tarfside towards Edzell. And now I'm chatting with
Ali Ogden,
and also with
Sue Oxley.
And okay, so
Mrs. O's, yes.
So have you spent the whole walk walking together, or how's it worked out for you?
More or less, yes. Well, Sue's waited for me on numerous occasions, put it that way.
Okay.
Done a couple of extra hills, but apart from that.
And where did you start?
Strathcarron about 1 million years ago.
Okay. Both of you at Strathcarron?
Both of us at Strathcarron, yes.
Okay. And for those who haven't met you before, Sue, how many of these challenges have you done?
This is number 11.
11, fantastic. And Ali?
This is number 6.
Number 6, okay. And so I've noticed that you've been strapping some large mechanical-looking sort of object to your knee, Ali, as you've been walking
my bionic knee, as Sue calls it, yes.
So what's that all about?
Well, unfortunately I had a skiing accident in February, and as Roger said to me, well, if you will do silly things on planks of wood, what do you expect?
Well, yeah.
Which meant I had to have knee surgery about 7 weeks ago. I've had a cartilage trimmed, but unfortunately have a cruciate ligament tear.
Oh no.
So sometimes I go in one direction and my knee goes in the other, and it's aimed at stopping that.
And how sore has it been on a scale of 1 to 10?
Soreness, not too bad.
Right.
It's been... until yesterday it wasn't particularly sore, but it's the instability that's the problem.
Okay.
So I have struggled a little bit through bogs and heathery bits and whatever. But soreness-wise it's not been too bad, which has been good.
Okay. And it's going to hold up to the coast now, you reckon?
Oh, it will do, even if I have to hop.
And Sue, isn't it the case that you've also got a bit of a dodgy knee?
I've got 2 dodgy knees
Okay,
from
so...
running.
Oh, right, so tell us the story of your dodgy knees.
There isn't really a story. They've just got progressively worse because I will go running.
Okay, and you still run now?
I still run now.
It's possible, in fact, that you and I have actually run in the same race, as it occurs to me, because
Quite
you live in Kendal, don't you?
I do, yes.
And I live in Southport.
Do you do 10Ks?
Well, I used to do 10Ks.
Yes.
I particularly loathe and detest 10Ks, it has to be said, but I have done them because I used to be in the running club, and they're sort of a bit of a staple, really, aren't they? So,
Indeed, they are.
Well, you will have been up at the front while I was trailing along at the back. But
That's probably what's done for my knees, and they've been puffy.
Okay.
But it hasn't stopped me doing anything.
Okay. And so tell me about, tell me about what food you've been eating, and have you brought dehydrated rations, or have you been eating in the pub? Or
Ali's dehydrated recipes.
Okay. And what recipes are they?
Well, I only have 3 this year because I didn't know whether I'd be doing the challenge until a couple of weeks beforehand, so normally I do 5 or 6.
Okay.
But we've got a mushroom risotto, which seems to be the favourite amongst everybody. It has lashings of parmesan and port in it.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Yes, it sounds vaguely healthy until you know what else goes in it.
Just let me ask you about that. Is that, do you actually put the parmesan in the risotto and then dehydrate, or do you bring the
no, I put it in the risotto.
Because I've heard that cheese is difficult.
No, but I've not found it. I mean, it feels slightly oily when you dehydrate it, but it's been fine.
Right. Well, I must ask you for the recipe for that.
Yes, I can send it to you.
Okay, so mushroom risotto and?
And then I do a recipe with, well, it's supposed to be Moroccan spiced chickpeas. Wow. So it has sultanas and almonds and apricots in it, but I throw in some lamb as well.
Right.
Yes. Which, for the carnivores amongst us is tasty.
Yeah.
And then the last recipe I've got is I did industrial amounts of a chili con carne with lots of bits of vegetables thrown in as well.
Right.
So we've been vegetables. We've been having our veg.
Yes.
Because I noticed last night, because you've been walking some of the way, I think, with David Albon, haven't you?
We have.
And I noticed last night some pretty delicious-looking concoction going on that seemed to involve industrial quantities of custard and even larger quantities of a variety of different kinds of chocolate.
Yes.
So how does that work, and what's in that?
Well, we do custard. Instant, has to be mixed with a fork.
Okay.
Because it says so on the instructions. And then whatever we've got, I bought a paradise slice and a chocolate brownie at Lochmorlick, so we've had those on 2 different occasions, slung in. And mint straws, they go quite well.
Right.
And last night we had some of Ali's oaty bars.
Ginger cake.
Cake with a bit of oat in. That was quite nice.
Okay.
So we're experimental and we think outside the box when it comes to our custard.
Which is important, of course.
It is. Variety is essential.
And it tastes all the better out of a communal pan for 3.
It has to be in one pan with 3 spoons. That's also essential.
And what about sort of the important question of alcohol? Have you been carrying any alcohol along the...
No, of course not, yes. Just a sneaky platypus full of wine.
This is the red platypus from Bob that looks like a blood transfusion,
isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, we put a whole bottle in each one.
Right.
So we've been carrying basically 2 bottles of wine
with
us to start, and then we gradually...
Because it's important, really, isn't it? It's a sort of lubricant for limbs, as far as I understand it.
Absolutely, yes.
We make sure it lasts us how many nights out we are.
Yes, anaesthetic qualities.
And it means that we can, if we have a visitor, we can offer them some wine.
Right.
We've had a visitor or 2.
Right.
So we've been able to offer them wine, which is essential, really, and hospitable.
And who were they? Just tell me a bit about the visitors that you've had along the way.
Well, our best visitor, hope he won't hear this, he'll be too embarrassed, is Mr. Phil Turner. First-time challenger, aged 26.
Yes, I met Phil as well, and he's absolutely charming.
We found him in the monolith.
Charming
we
young
kept
man.
him
Charming, calm and nice to look at.
Absolutely,
Yep.
and he
Not
seems,
too macho.
He removed a piece of bacon from my chips, which was very much appreciated.
he seems to have absolutely no concerns about walking with two slightly middle-aged ladies
Right.
and at their
Eccentric.
pace.
Okay. And how did he feel about the blood transfusion of wine?
He seemed quite
He drank
appreciative.
it.
Right.
Yes.
He drank it, and
And who else has visited?
well, obviously we've had David quite a lot, and Mr. Steve Smith, although he doesn't participate in wine.
Oh, doesn't he? No wine at all?
No.
Is he a total abstainer?
He does largely abstain,
Oh,
yes.
good heavens.
Which is just all the more for us, so
Well, I suppose
that's
so.
fine.
We're actually just creeping up behind David Albon here, who's, I see, trying to lead John Hesp astray at the side of the path. So, hello, David.
Hi, Shirley.
And so just tell us a quick bit about your walk, because we know that you've been walking with Ali and Sue a little bit, but perhaps not all the way.
Yeah, well, I started at Harrickle
Right.
and met up with them sort of about a kilometre east of the Cairngorm Club footbridge near the Cairngorms.
Right.
Yeah,
And are you also carrying one of these blood transfusions of wine?
yes.
We
I'm,
got them from
I'm,
him.
I'm the culprit.
You're the instigator.
I spotted these in all featured in the TGO last year and thought, wouldn't that be great?
Right.
A great way to carry wine, and it's because it's a different material and colour than the regular platypi. It's supposed to actually keep the wine good longer, which is very important, of course,
Right.
if you like
Lasts that
wine.
long.
Yes.
So, yeah, I bought a few
And we received one
and
in
gave
postage.
them to some select friends.
Right.
Yes.
And you've been happy with the performance of them then?
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
They're really good.
And so if you had to set the sort of special alcoholic platypi on one side and each of the three of you to nominate one piece of kit that's been your favourite bit of kit of the challenge so far, what do you think you would go for?
Probably my knee brace.
Knee brace. Okay.
Failing that, probably my laser tent, because I'm rather attached to it now.
How long have you had the laser?
This is the third year I've walked with it, 2 challenges and one week-long walk with it.
And this is the laser competition, right?
It is, yes.
The same as mine. Very dinky little tent.
Very dinky. It helps that I'm quite short myself.
Okay.
But I find once you get used to its little foibles, it's absolutely fine, and it gives me plenty enough space.
And they're very friendly, I find.
I do. I find it very user-friendly.
Yes.
Plenty of space to cook in the porch, plenty of space to sleep and get all my gear inside. So
Okay.
I don't need anything further.
And what about you, Sue? What would be your favourite bit of kit of the challenge? You
Well,
think?
I like my house,
Right, which is
an Acto,
an Acto, yeah.
which I only
Challenger
got,
favourite.
which I only got last year.
Oh, right. So what had you
this
been
is the
using prior
third
to
one.
that?
Solewa Micra.
Right.
So big change, but I like my little house once
Okay.
it's up. And also probably my Cascader trousers, the promo
Right.
trousers.
Okay. Yeah, I notice you've got the nice blue ones.
Yes.
And David's got the grey, the very chic grey Cascada trousers.
Yes.
What do you think of those then, David?
Oh, they're wonderful.
Okay.
It took me a while to kind of get persuaded to start trying Paramo, but I just think it's great stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I noticed that your Cascada trousers, as is always the case with your trousers, I've noted, in the past, are unfeasibly clean. Would you like to just give us a quick rundown of how it is that you keep your clothes so clean in the tent at night?
Well, I don't know how. I think maybe it rained so much like yesterday. I mean, even if they're covered in peat, I think Sue would agree with this, even if they're covered in peat inside the legs there, if it does rain and you get them wet, they kind of self-wash.
Right.
Because you swish against them and you kind of do self-wash.
And all the gunk comes off.
Yeah.
Black 2 or 3 days ago.
Right.
And well, they're still... They look presentable, I think.
Yep.
People say that they're too hot, but I think if you use the venting options properly,
Yep. They work well.
And early enough.
and maybe it's to do with individual metabolism too, and all that sort of thing, and heat, and yeah.
So what would be your favourite piece of kit, do you think, of the challenge?
I might get hit here,
Go on.
and I know they're not kit, but I'd like to say the Platypi girls. Am I going to get away with that?
Yeah, because I like being a girl.
And can the three of you, do you think the three of you can imagine setting off and doing the challenge again together, the future?
I guess we could, but I think, as I said last year, one of one of the great things is about having the capacity to be independent and to mix and match your route with people, which is what we've historically done in the past.
Right.
So, I could see maybe setting off, but whether at some point you'd have a few days separately.
Yep.
Last year.
Yes, works very well.
Yeah.
So, but I would anticipate that if all three of us were on a future challenge together, we would at least meet up for some time.
Yes.
We haven't fallen out.
No.
That's the main thing.
Well, listen, thank you very much to all three of you. I should just ask you where you're off to this evening. Have you decided yet?
We're still slightly up in the air, but quite probably Northwater Bridge. We're supposed to be trogging Heather over to Char and through the Feta Esso, but I think my knee isn't going to allow us that.
Okay.
So possibly Edzell, possibly Northwater Bridge.
Okay.
We'll see.
And then tomorrow into...
We're trying not to go to St Cyrus, seeing as we've all finished there multiple times before, but we may go to the south end of the place called Nether Warburton.
Okay.
Just for a change.
Right. Well, thank you very much once again to all three of you. And so now it's about 11 o'clock. And so we've all just turned right, I think, off the road, and John's navigating at the moment, and I think he's heading towards the bridge. And so no doubt, it may be possible to pick on some other victim a little later in the morning, in which case there'll be a further update. But otherwise, possibly nothing further to come until we arrive at Edzell. So for the moment, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from
Ali,
and it's goodbye from
Sue.
And finally, but not least, it's goodbye from
David.
Join us next time as the journey across Scotland continues on the 30th anniversary TGO Challenge 2009. Find out how easy it is to subscribe to all our free programmes. Visit our website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk or look us up on Facebook.